So I went to see
Said if.
hello everyone, welcome to Was It Good? My name is Bob, and tonight I got to check out the new movie If. This is a movie that's written and directed by John Krasinski and stars the often funny Ryan Reynolds.
That's the coolest name ever!
Actually, I hadn't planned on seeing this movie, but now that I've seen it,
Well, what did you think?
I thought it was a movie that ultimately surprised me. Now, before I get into the review, I just want to point out that this review is going to be spoiler free. So if you haven't seen the film, you don't need to worry about spoilers. Now, if you have seen the film, I'd like to know what you thought about it. Why don't you go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments section below? Now, remember, these are my thoughts of the film. So if you disagree with me, that's fine. Please go ahead and let me know what you thought about it. What did your kids think? Did it connect with you? I'd like to hear what you thought. Now, don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get to it. When our story begins, we're introduced to 12-year-old Bea, who goes to stay with her grandmother while her father is awaiting surgery. It's at this point that Bea realizes that she can see the imaginary friends, also known as ifs, from kids that have long since grown up. While facing growing up herself, Bea must now help the ifs reconnect with the kids that have long since forgotten about them. Now, I said that this was a film that surprised me, and one of the reasons that it did is because there was actually a lot that I liked about it. First off, I thought that the film was very heartfelt. It's a family-friendly film that I think you can take your kids to, probably ages 6 and up, as I think anything younger than that, they probably have a little more difficult time actually following the film. But like I said, about ages 6 through up, and I think this is a movie that they will enjoy, as well as will bring a smile to parents' faces. Now, before the movie started, there was actually an introduction by John Krasinski. And during that introduction, they talked about that this film was almost like a live action Pixar film. And I do think that that's pretty accurate because when you look back at some of those old Pixar films, there's actually a heart at the center of it. And by the time you've finished watching it, you actually feel better. And that's kind of how this film was. I actually walked out with a smile on my face. It felt like that the message that they were trying to get across connected with me. Well, at least let me say, at least what I got from it was that it's important to hold on to certain aspects of your childhood and let those remain with you throughout your lifetime. So that connected with me. Also, one of the things I liked about it is that it's not an incredibly long runtime. It clocks in at an hour and 44 minutes. And when you take end credits into account, it's actually less than that. And I think that's important because the shorter runtime will allow kids to not get bored so easily. Another thing I really liked about this film was I thought that the animation was really good. You know, when I think about mixing animation with live action, I always go back to my default, which was Roger Rabbit. And this, I think, is actually really good as the animation for some of these ifs looks really cool. I liked seeing them interact with the live action actors. And overall, I think they did a good job with the special effects on this. Another thing is that this film has a stellar voice cast. Just some of the names that are in this, you have Steve Carell, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Bradley Cooper, George Clooney, and even the late, great Louis Gossett Jr. all have roles in this film as far as voicing some of the characters. And I enjoyed hearing their voices throughout the film. As far as our lead actors go, Ryan Reynolds was pretty good in the role of Cal. I think that he does a good job throughout the film. And what I liked is that it's different from a lot of his other roles. And I actually found that to be very refreshing. Kaylee Fleming, she plays Bea. And overall, I think that the film does a pretty good job of allowing us to see the ifs through her eyes, and it's through her eyes that we're able to connect with those characters, and so I enjoyed that. Now, John Krasinski, he plays Bea's father, and he has this childlike quality, apparently, that's kind of gone with him from childhood into adulthood, and that was something that I actually connected with. Now, Krasinski also wrote and directed this film, and it's pretty obvious he wanted to create something that would connect with his children as he has 2 daughters, and I think for the most part, he crafted something that will connect with families. Like I said, there's actually a lot to like about this movie. Now, there were several things that I didn't like about the film. Probably the first thing is that the film probably dragged for about the first 15 to 20 minutes. And I think that that's important if you have younger kids because I think you might lose them during those first 15 to 20 minutes. Now, once you get to the more magical moments, I think it's a lot of fun, but it's early on in the film that you might have a hard time with younger kids following what's going on. Also, I think that several of the jokes weren't quite as funny as what I expected them to be. Now, when Ryan Reynolds is in a movie, you expect to laugh out loud a little bit more. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the jokes were, how shall I say it?
For the kids.
In fact, it seems like most of the jokes were written for kids, and so because of that, I didn't find myself laughing throughout a lot of the movie. Also, I thought that some of the dialogue was a little cheesy in the way that it was written and delivered, and so that kind of threw me off in certain spots. Now, the biggest thing for me was probably that I found this movie to be very predictable. Like, early on in the film, I turned around and as I was watching it, and I said, "Well, I think this is what's going to happen." And I found myself to be right about several of the characters and events and the way things played out. So for me, I thought it was very predictable. Now there were a few other things here and there. Now those didn't actually ruin anything in the film for me, but just the stuff that I mentioned, those were some of the bigger things that I didn't like about it. Now, bottom line, was it good? I think for what it's supposed to be, I think this is a pretty good movie. I think that this is a film that has heart. It's got good animation. It's got a good voice cast. It's got good live action actors. And at the end of the day, I think that this is a film that's going to register with families. This is not going to be a movie you're going to see a bunch of dudes going to walking out saying, "Oh my gosh, that was a great movie." No, this is a film that's going to register with families. It's a film that's safe that you can take your families to. And I think for that, I think most kids and adults that go to this film are going to enjoy it. So if you have kids, I say take them to it. Now, if you're still watching this long, I'd like to thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested, I have another YouTube channel with a couple of friends of mine where we put on a show called Dad's Turn to Talk. This is an opportunity for three dads to get together, talk about the things that we want to talk about, including movies and sports, and yet at the same time have a little bit of fun at each other's expense. So I'll put the link to that channel in the description below. Again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.